Welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write and I talk about movies, and I am also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. Yay!
Woohoo!
And my name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. Co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living.
Yes, you are, sir.
Indeed.
Glad we're keeping that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I
Oh,
messed it
yes.
up last week because I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I forgot what I was supposed to say. So
It happens. Happens to
even
the
though
best of
we've
us.
done this like every week for 7 years, I forgot what I was supposed to do.
We all have different days coming into recording the show. So
That's true.
I feel like
That
it
is
brings
true.
different energy. You don't know sometimes. There's some wild card days bring wild card energy. You don't know.
Yeah.
Whoa, you are so right, Evan. And I think that is a perfect segue to talk about this episode. We're gonna tell you straight out of the gate. This is gonna be kind of a rough one because these are two very intense movies for some different reasons and for some overlapping reasons.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we were talking about this off mic that I'm not looking forward to it. Dave's not looking forward to it. Having said that, though, we are always excited to talk to each other and we're always excited for you listeners. So we hope that even though this is going to be kind of a, intense conversation, we hope it's still going to be insightful and fun. But before we dig into that, we want to tell you about our Patreon this week. Every week we do bonus episodes for $5 a month. You can become a patron and you get access to those bonus episodes. And this week we talked about the Disney movie, The Little Mermaid, the animated film in preparation for the upcoming live action film next year. And we had a great time, great conversation, lively as always. A lot of fun.
Lots of theater elbows.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there was a lot of joy. So
Yeah.
if you're a patron, go check it out. And if you're not a patron, consider joining.
Yeah, and if you want to hear three dorks talk about Disney, then just skip ahead to the last 10 minutes and we go on about the theme parks.
Dude, I could have talked about the theme parks for like
Oh, for
5
sure.
hours.
Yeah,
That's a future bonus episode.
Yes.
right. Why does Dave love beaches and cream? Well, it used to have an arcade next door. So anyway,
Dave, that's amazing that you're talking about beaches and cream.
that place is amazing. What do you mean?
Do you get the kitchen sink every time you go?
No, I've never gotten the kitchen sink because that's just not my style of ice cream. But yeah, I love
yeah,
beaches
it looks
and cream.
wild.
Yeah.
Looks like way too much food.
But anyway, the movies.
Back to the movies. So this week we have two movies we'll be discussing. We're going to discuss The Justice of Bunny King, which is a New Zealand drama, and we're going to be talking about Blonde, the Marilyn Monroe film. So to kick this off, our first film is The Justice of Bunny King. Like I said, it is a New Zealand drama. It stars Essie Davis and Thomasin McKenzie. It is directed by Gaysorn Thabat, and it is written by Sophie Henderson with a story by Gaysorn Thabat and Gregory King. So let me give you the one-sentence description that is actually from the press release by the distribution studio Filmrise. Bunny King is a mother of two, a rough-cut diamond with a sketchy past. While battling the system to reunite with her children, a confrontation leads her to take her niece Tanya under her wing. With the world against her and Tanya, Bunny's battle has just begun. Yeah, that is true.
Mhm. Leaves out a lot.
Leaves out.
Yeah.
It does leave out a lot. I'm
Right.
sure they don't want to spoil things, but of course this is
Right.
spoiler piece, so we're going to spoil it.
Mm-hmm.
To fill in a little bit more of the gaps, yes, she is homeless. Bunny is homeless because she was in prison, because she killed her husband, because her husband, as you later learn, killed their baby. And So she is trying to get her kids back. And in order to get her kids back, she has to have a house. But there's a housing shortage and crisis in New Zealand, just like there is a housing crisis in many places around the world. And the problem is in order to get a house, she needs a job. But in order, like, it's kind of like a one or the other. Like, in order to have a job, she needs a house. But in order to have a house, she needs a job. And she struggles to make ends meet by washing windows of cars as they're passing by. And like her and a few other guys will be on the median trying to clean the windows. And she lives with her sister and her sister's husband and their kids. And she takes care of the kids. She picks them up from school. She cooks meals. She washes the car, things like that. But she confronts her shitbag brother-in-law because she sees him touching Tanya, played by Thomasin McKenzie, very inappropriately. And it's very clear to her that he's molesting her. And so she intervenes and hits him, and then he kicks her out. And then she tells her sister. Her sister doesn't believe her, believes him, and throws her out again. So yeah, and then as the film goes on, eventually she takes Tanya with her, and as she's trying to get her kids, and especially it's all kind of leading up to her daughter's birthday party. So she's trying to get her kids back for her birthday party because she promised her daughter. And yeah, jumping straight to the end, and then I want to hear what you guys have to say. It's a wild climax because basically she puts a razor blade to a social worker's throat and she takes them hostage in order to demand that they bring her kids to her. Yeah, so that is the movie. Guys, what did you think?
Well, I'm just going to break in here really quickly and say the first time that I saw this in our emails, like the Justice of Bunny King, I misread it as the Justice of Ben E. King, who wrote Stand By Me. And I was like, what happened to Ben E. King? And so then I clicked on him like, oh, different person.
Yeah.
Got it.
I misread the title too. I thought it was called The Justice of the Bunny King. And I was like, who's the Bunny King?
Oh my God.
It's the long lost sequel to Watership Down, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I do love Watership Down.
Well, I'd rather have Evan go first. Evan went first in the Patreon. He can go first here.
How nice of you, Dave.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. You didn't say thank you.
This movie is definitely not an easy watch. I think it's good. It's a good movie, but it's not an easy watch. It's very tough to watch someone struggle in poverty and to not have a way out, or to feel like they don't have a way out and then feel like they keep like finding themselves deeper and deeper in the hole, like Essie Davis's character Bunny King is in this movie. It's just really tough, and it's also just infuriating, which I think the movie is effective in that way by just making you so mad about the system, and I'm putting the system in quotes because I'm sure in New Zealand, whatever social services they have are better than they are here, which I know they're abysmal in the US.
Oh, yeah.
But they're still not great because you see this person struggling to make ends meet and then just being denied access to her kids, having to do these supervised visits, and like having to sit in a conference room, and like the social worker like denies her 15 minutes of the visit as like retribution because she went out in the play area and refused to sit in the conference room during the visit. It's the kind of stuff that just makes you so angry. And like seeing the mom just believe her husband instead of believing her sister, or even bothering to ask her daughter. So I think the movie's very effective in that way. It's just kind of like getting you angry about the injustices of it, and getting you angry at the systems that perpetuate these situations and allow them to continue. I thought a lot about, there's a movie that I don't know if either of you saw it. I think it was called Time Out of Mind with Richard Gere, where Richard Gere played a homeless person. And
I know that.
I have
haven't
seen
seen
that.
it.
you see a lot of the same struggles of like, he can't get housing because he doesn't have a job, and he doesn't have a job because he doesn't have an ID. And because he does, it's just, you see all these like ways that people are trapped in poverty and just literally cannot pull themselves out because they just, one thing after another is, stacked against them. So I don't know. So I found this movie very effective in that way. It's not an easy watch. I think Essie Davis is fantastic in this. She gives an incredible performance. I feel like Thomasin McKenzie less so, but I feel like she's kind of been doing a similar kind of like soft-spoken, quiet character. I've seen her play that kind of character in a few different things. So I didn't feel like that was all that novel here. But overall, I just found this very effective and very infuriating. And Bunny King as a character, like, she does a lot of things that make her situation worse, but I feel for her so much that I'm just kind of like, it's hard to be mad at a character who just is so downtrodden and is, you know, doing whatever possible to feel like she's reclaiming some kind of power. It's a weird thing to be like, oh, I'd recommend it, or, oh, I would watch it again.
Interesting.
Dave, what did you think?
I think this is a good movie. I think Essie Davis is phenomenal. Also, because I have heard it is very difficult for Australians to do a New Zealand accent correctly. I don't know if that's true. And she's also from Tasmania, which is part of Australia, but it's really not part of Australia. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh.
So, yeah, I found myself frustrated with the system, and also Bunny, just because all of these shitty things happen to Bunny, and they happen like despite her best efforts, best intentions, whatever. But she also does make legitimately poor decisions that she knows is a poor decision when she's making it, because she's really smart. But I did enjoy seeing her dump all of those toys into those two boxes in the toy store, and then putting a different what are they the barcode on it?
Yeah.
So she gets like $70 worth of toys for like $10. But just a miracle they don't have a functioning camera system in that store. Anyway, yeah, it was infuriating to watch Bunny go to the social services office or whatever the system is called in New Zealand, and be told, you know, fill out this form. And it's like, yes, but I know you. I know your first name. I've been here before dozens of times, you know, just like that kind of fucking rigmarole bullshit is just infuriating. Yeah. But also just, you know, the thing I think that actually irked me the most is when her brother-in-law, who is Tanya's stepfather, right? It's not her.
Yes.
Okay. That, you know, she witnesses the molestation and tells her sister, like Evan said, and then her sister's like instantly, you know, accuses her husband, and then her husband's like, it's bullshit. And she's like, oh, okay. And it's like, I mean, I'm certain. I know that happens. I'm just saying, you know, dramatically in that, it's just like, when is anybody in this movie going to get a break?
Never.
You know? And also, there comes a point when you can see that even the social workers are just like, oh, Jesus, I gotta like tell this person this horrible thing, you know? But I think that this movie lives and dies on the strength of Essie Davis's performance, just because the material is so grim. But it's, you know, it's kind of amazing that this movie, dark as it is, it doesn't really feel like a morose drama. And it's probably because of the buoyance of Essie Davis's performance. I mean, you know, Bunny is just, she's not like a, you know, naturally cheerful person or anything like that, but you know, she's kind of forced to, you know, do everything through like a fake smile, like she does in the social services office so many times. But like I say, watching her make really bad decisions one after another, some of which she doesn't really have a choice about, and some which she really does.
You mean
Like,
taking
say-
people hostage?
Yeah, like taking people hostage.
peeing in the car.
Yeah, peeing in the cars was a bad decision. Writing scum on the side, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
But
It's satisfying.
sort of faux kidnapping her niece. I mean, technically, I guess it is a kidnapping, even though the niece is totally willingly going along.
Yeah, by legal standards, it's a kidnapping.
Yeah,
but
like
it
legal
shouldn't be.
standards is a kidnapping.
But it shouldn't be.
Right. Especially, in some places, if you're 16, you're allowed to quit high school. I don't know how it is in New Zealand. So
That's true.
basically, you're an adult. So, that being said, yeah. I was a little disappointed that Bunny gets shot by the SWAT team at the
Yeah,
end.
that was fucked.
Yeah.
Only, and I don't mean disappointed because, oh, what a horrible thing to do to a person. I meant narratively. I'm just like,
Yeah,
this is
I
where
knew
we're
what you
going to
meant,
go
yeah.
with this. I mean, come
Mhm.
on. Because this is the ending of this movie is one of those things where it's kind of like the Three's Company effect. If somebody just said 2 sentences about what was going on, yes, the circumstances would still be, you've broken the law, you're going back to prison, etc. But you probably wouldn't have
Right.
gotten shot, Yeah.
It
Just like the
seemed
whole
weird.
thing with the exploding balloon. I mean, was that a gunshot? She's on the phone. Just be like, no, my niece is blowing up
balloon.
balloons and one
Yeah.
fucking blew up.
Right.
The fuck?
Right. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't say that. But also, it seems weird to me to shoot someone when they're clearly opening the door to come outside to give themselves up. I just thought procedurally that was a bizarre choice.
Well, it might also be an indictment of police.
Police, yeah. It definitely felt
I mean,
that
that's
way.
fair. I did appreciate the fact, though, that whatever they call the EMTs in New Zealand, she comes in and she says, Bunny, I'm not a police officer. I'm
Yes.
here to help you and look at your shoulder. And I was,
I love
I was
that.
like, I loved how she said, I'm not a police officer.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what, yeah, I think it definitely was an indictment of police.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
So yeah, it's a mixed bag. I mean, it's well done. I kind of agree with you, Evan, about Thomasin McKenzie, because I kind of feel like she's not that dissimilar from the way she plays it, not necessarily her character. She's not all that different from her performance in Leave No Trace, but I think that's the only thing I've seen her in.
Did you see Last Night in Soho? Because I feel like that was also a very
I have
similar-
avoided all Edgar Wright movies after Baby Driver. So, no, I haven't seen it. It's the short version.
She's also in Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, yeah. See, no.
But she's great in Leave No Trace.
She is.
Yeah,
It's a great
she's really
movie.
great in Leave
That's
No
a
Trace.
legitimately great movie.
It really
um,
is. I love Deborah
Did Deborah
Granick.
Granick do that? Help me out.
Yep. I love Deborah
Okay.
Granick. Yep.
And anyway, so that's what I have to say about the Justice of Bunny King. I would say, if you want to see a good fucking drama, yeah, this is a movie, but it's not without its narrative problems, especially that last. I don't know, how long does that whole scene in the social worker's office take? Like 25 minutes, something
25
like that.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's stretched out a little longer than it should be. And it's also just kind of narratively sort of like, I know she's reached her wit's end, but this seems a little extreme even for her,
Right, knowing the consequences of taking. I mean, she can't be dumb and know.
Yeah, she's not.
She would have to know the consequences of taking people hostage, even if they're not. Even if it's one person, basically. If we're just counting the social worker as the one hostage, and even by the end, she's not even there so much against her will. When she when she sees the info on the computer, like, oh yeah, I guess this is a woman with a past, and she's been through some shit, and maybe I should cut her some slack.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I mean, everybody who goes through the system has gone through some shit and should be cut slack. And
Absolutely.
and that's arguably what the film is trying to convey, because you guys both have said this, and I completely agree. I think one of the most effective things about this film is the way it shows the absolute absurdity of bureaucracy, just how frustrating it is, how it just completely wears you down. And the film is really great at showing that. But yeah, this is a tough watch. I mean, it's emotional, it's heartbreaking, but also it's one thing after another, just piled and piled and piled on. I mean, dealing with homelessness, poverty, domestic violence, child molestation, child murder, and you take any one of those topics and it'd be an intense movie and it'd be a lot. But you pile them all in, like it's a lot. I had a really hard time watching this. But I will say, to this film's credit, I don't think this film would work at all if it didn't have someone who was as powerful an actor as Essie Davis. And I agree with you both. She's excellent. Essie Davis is always excellent. She's always giving it her all. This is such a nuanced and incendiary performance. I love it. And I think I've said this many times on the show. Rage is a really difficult emotion to convey because so often people don't either do it enough or they do it too much and it feels fake. It's really hard to do rage accurately. And Essie Davis is one of the best, if not the best, at conveying rage and different levels of rage. And so I love her performance here. And I love her in general, but I think she really anchors the film and she makes the film. But I agree with you, Dave, that while this is a good film, I think the third act is just, for me, it was so melodramatic and heavy-handed and kind of absurd that it just kind of detracted from everything else I appreciated about the film. Because it didn't feel authentic to her, like you guys were saying.
It didn't.
And in the first 3 minutes of the film, you get a sense of who she is. Like kind of everything you need to know about her, you know, from those first 3 minutes, the way she carries herself, the way she interacts with the other guys who are washing cars. She's very maternal with them. She has a really good spirit. She's very clever. And it just doesn't feel authentic and true to her at the end. Having said that, I think this film is it's a really difficult watch, but it is exploring some very, very difficult emotional terrain that's important to discuss and explore. And I think Essie Davis is doing it excellently.
Yeah. Should also mention that it's shot like it's filmed through like a dirty window on purpose. Yeah. So just something to keep in mind. It also looks rough. But stylistic choice. Mm-hmm. So I was going to use the word dank, but then I decided on dirty window.
Oh, you were going to use the word dank, bro?
Yeah, bro. I was.
It's a dank film, bro.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say like I recommend this. At the same time, if you want to see some fire acting, then this is a movie. I agree.
Yeah, it kind of in many ways reminded me of the British film that we reviewed the beginning of last year, Herself, and how about the woman who is fleeing an abusive relationship with her children and she's trying to get a house and all of the difficulties there. Yeah, I found a lot of parallels.
Yeah.
I was feeling that too as I was watching it and thinking like, narratively and emotionally, there was a lot of similar territory. Both very effective, both I think worth watching, but definitely some common ground there.
Totally. Yeah. And not enough films deal with poverty and deal with it in a truly nuanced and sensitive way. Like not a lot of films deal with it, but then the ones that do, it often feels kind of like poverty porn. And this doesn't do that. This just feels like this is a shit system and we're going to show a person who's going through this really difficult system. So, but yeah, I agree. Essie Davis is the reason to see this. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
No, I don't. But maybe we should keep talking about this so we don't have to talk about the next movie.
No. Yeah.
Evan, do you have any final thoughts about this?
How do we feel about Thomasin McKenzie's character kind of riding off into the sunset? Do we feel like that is an earned ending, happy ending for her? Or do we feel like that's just another one of those stupid like cliche things? And they're like, well, at least somebody is like riding off into the sunset.
Yeah, I don't think it really feel earned to me.
I don't think it's as earned as certain films. Like I think of the ending of Holler, where the protagonist kind of rides off, and that felt extremely earned because that movie is so damn good. So I don't think it's as earned as that. I think it's
right, Holler. Yeah.
Good stuff. I do think it's a little bit earned, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Medium
totally
earned.
like, no, not at all. But yeah, totally kind of middle earned, midi earned. What do you think, Evan?
I agree with you. I on one hand, I was like, I'm really happy for her. I'm happy that she's escaping this situation, but it
Yes.
also just feels kind of like overly optimistic given that what happened to Bunny. So she's shot in an ambulance. Like she's like in dire straits, and it's like, well, at least somebody is riding off into the sunset.
Into an uncertain future with no money and a
Right,
car that
exactly.
has the word
That's-
scum written on the side.
Yeah, I was thinking
Smells like
that
piss.
too. Like, great, she's driving off to nowhere with no money in, like you said, a car that smells like piss and says scum on the side.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, gang. We've been dreading it. We're dragging our feet. It's time to do it.
Hmm.
Our next film is Blonde, and Blonde is Andrew Dominik's latest film. He wrote it as well. He directed it. He adapted it from Joyce Carol Oates' novel. This is a fictionalized story about the life of icon, actress, singer Marilyn Monroe. And it stars Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe, as well as Bobby Cannavale as Joe DiMaggio and Adrian Brody as Arthur Miller. And I was going to give you the one sentence, but it literally is a fictionalized chronicle of the inner life of Marilyn Monroe. So there we are.
There you go.
To fill in the gaps a little bit more, the movie starts off with Marilyn Monroe as a kid. I think she's about 7 years old with her mom, and they live in LA. Her mother is dealing with mental illness. They don't say it in the film, but in real life, her mom dealt with schizophrenia and was in and out of hospitals. Her mother is put in an institution, but in the film, her mother tries to kill her. Anyway, I'm trying to keep this concise and do the broad strokes. So then it jumps ahead after she's put in an orphanage, jumps ahead to when she starts modeling and her pinup career, and there's kind of a montage of that. And then it jumps ahead to the height of her career, and we follow those years at the height of her career to essentially the end of her career and the end of her life. And it also shows her relationships, her marriages to playwright Arthur Miller, marriage to ex-baseball player Joe DiMaggio. It shows her affair with John F. Kennedy. And it also shows a fictitious throuple with Charlie Chaplin Jr. and Edward G. Robinson's son. Okay, guys.
Well,
Another not easy watch.
Yeah.
well,
No.
I mean, just the word that I would use more than any other word is unpleasant. And in the most derogatory sense.
Yeah, I would
This film's
say
disgusting. It's gross.
Yeah. It is gross. It felt punishing to the audience.
Great word, Evan.
And I think Shauna used the words. It was like a hit piece against Marilyn Monroe. It just feels like I forget what movie it is, but a character says, "Why didn't you just take a swing at the casket?" That's what this entire movie felt like. It's just like, why? I know it's fictitious, but
why is it fictitious?
why?
That's
and
my
also,
question.
Why say all these terrible things about Marilyn Monroe? Like, what has she done to you? Like, why do you need to drag her name through the mud and show all these awful things that aren't true or somehow are based in
some of which didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah, because some of these things did. Like Joe DiMaggio was physically abusive to her. Her mother did have mental illness. Like she was molested as a kid. Like when she was I think she was in a foster home or she was living with friends. So yeah, she had some shitty shit happen to her. But the film never talks about how she founded her own production company. The film never talks about how she fell in love with movies. The film never talks about her business acumen or her incredible comedic timing or how talented she was. Yeah, so it's like it invents rapes that never happened. Like, what the fuck are you doing? This movie is exploitative and misogynistic and revolting. And it's also so anti-abortion. It's ableist. It's gross. Ugh. I'm jumping ahead of you guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, those are all important things to mention.
I fucking hate this movie. This movie might be my most hated movie we've ever covered on the show because I was seething from the first like 5 minutes in, and it just grew worse and worse and worse as this film went on. And I found it insulting to the legacy of Marilyn Monroe and to the audience. And what makes it even worse, what I think is even more of an insult, is I read in the press notes, there was this article on Netflix's site about kind of like a snippet behind the scenes. And Ana de Armas called this like the most feminist depiction of Marilyn Monroe she's ever seen. And Andrew Dominik was like, Marilyn Monroe's great. And I wanted to honor that. And I'm like, are you people high? Like, this is the most offensive depiction of her. This is awful. I was offended as a woman, as a human being, as someone who has gone through abuse. Like, this is just awful. It is repulsive.
Yeah. And it's 2 hours and 45 minutes of awfulness. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's torturous.
I think what I think about when I think of this is not necessarily the grossness, although it's pretty gross. But you two have covered that. So,
I'm sure we'll cover more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I just watch this movie and I'm puzzled. Like, what is the end game of this?
Right.
Like, what is the purpose? I mean, why? If you say you're writing a character, or if you're writing a movie to, celebrate or, show the inner world of Marilyn Monroe or whatever the fuck bullshit they put out.
Yeah.
Whether it's Andrew Dominik or the marketing department, it's like, why is her character so passive? Why is she so passive?
Right.
It's like she doesn't make a single decision herself in this movie.
No, about anything.
I mean, it's really kind of a miracle to have a character as passive as this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't understand what the purpose of that is. Maybe if you're being really charitable, you could say, well, what they're showing is in that era, basically to be a woman, you had no power, especially in Hollywood. And so therefore, by definition, you were passive. But that's really being probably way too kind to Andrew Dominik.
You're being way too generous.
I don't really believe that.
No,
I mean,
I
think they might believe that.
I think you're right. No, I think you're 100% right. I should have said the fictitious you're referencing is saying
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
the royal fictitious you.
Right, exactly. Because that's the thing. You can have an indictment of sexism and misogyny and systemic patriarchy, and Hollywood was and is an extremely patriarchal institution. Having said that, there were so many women who worked within the confines of those patriarchal constraints to open their own studios, to have the kind of roles that they wanted. And Marilyn Monroe was one of those people who was working to get more serious roles. And the fact that the film shows Joe DiMaggio as the one who's like, you need to take more serious roles, dear. And it's like, no, she wanted more serious roles. She was already taking acting classes before they even got together. So the fact that the film doesn't understand that, it completely misrepresents her and misunderstands her. And I am by no means a Marilyn Monroe expert. I just know kind of basic things about her. And I'm like, if you don't even get that, like, fuck you. Like, it's absurd. It is absurd. And in that piece, that behind the scenes piece, Andrew Dominik was like, I wanted to immerse the audience in what it felt like to be Marilyn Monroe. So that's why there's so many like gross shots of like the paparazzi like clamoring for her and shit like that.
Or the inside of her.
Why are we seeing the inside of her vagina multiple times?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's truly bizarre.
It is this movie is so salacious and tawdry. I feel like I needed a shower after I was done. Like really and truly. I can't believe that they subject you to 2 hours and 46 minutes of just
It's
grossness.
So gross.
But it's just, the whole thing is disgusting. And to what you were saying before, Dave, it feels so pointless. You're
Yeah.
tracing the path of such a passive character that they basically just are like, look at her, she's got daddy issues, and her daddy issues just ruined her entire life. She couldn't possibly have anything more to her life or her character than daddy issues. And anytime she even shows intelligence, like we just see the other characters go, that's nice, sweetie, you read Chekhov, okay, great, moving on now to being more sexist.
Now, see, here's the thing about that is that was one of the few things that would like strike me as legit when Arthur Miller was like, oh, well, how would you know blah blah blah, and she's like, well, I fucking read Three Sisters or whatever play she's talking about, and then he's just kind of dismissive of her, you know, and that I believe. I mean, the whole thing with like Zanuck, and I don't know much about her life either. I didn't know that the throuple was fictitious. I mean, I knew this movie is largely fictitious, but you know, I also don't understand why when we say daddy issues and, you know, women who have daddy issues or whatever, we don't talk about that it's like the man who's at fault for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Seriously.
I mean, it's really kind of unfair to say she has daddy issues. It's like, well, her father was a motherfucker, so of course she has daddy issues. What's wrong with you?
Right, but she also has mother, like if you want to get really technical, she has mother issues too, but the film doesn't really explore that. It's just like, oh no, it's all daddy issues. Like, it's so, like the fact that she calls the men in her life daddy, and like, my God, this movie just is so infuriating. Sorry, Dave, please keep going.
No, I just don't understand, you know. This is kind of like, this is the strangest thought that I had, and I apologize because it's kind of a tangent, but I was about halfway through this and wondering where the fuck this was going, which is just down the never-ending rabbit hole of shit. And I thought about that part in A Fish Called Wanda when Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Kline are arguing, and she's calling him stupid, and he says, no, I'm not stupid. And she's like, yes, you are. You're an ape. And he's like, apes don't read philosophy. And then she says, yes, they do. They just don't understand it. And I kind of feel like that's what you read Joyce Carol Oates' book, but you just didn't understand it, you know, or you decided to change it, you know, whatever.
I mean, from what I've heard, it's a pretty misogynistic book too. So
I've read 3 Joyce Carol Oates novels. Blonde is not one of them, and I have hated them all. So I don't know if that says anything, and I don't even know. I just don't like her thing. And these books all had very different narrative styles. I mean, I think she's kind of a chameleon in that way, but whatever colors her chameleon chose, fuck that shit. So anyway, yeah, I just, you know, like the whole scene with JFK, by the way, and this is maybe going to cause some controversy between the 3 of us. I'm not entirely sure why this is NC-17, because I've definitely seen mainstream movies that are more gross than this, sexually and violently, or sexual violently, if that's a phrase. But like, it's just, maybe it's the tawdriness of it. I'm not sure. But it's just, I don't know.
It's hard to,
it's definitely salacious.
To pin that down.
Yeah. It's the blowjob and the nudity. I can tell you that right now. I'm telling you, that's why.
I believe it.
I believe that. But I always go back to Single White Female, the most realistic fake blowjob I've ever seen on screen in my life. Yep. And that movie is rated R, and people love that fucking movie. And that's 30 years ago.
That's very true. I do wonder if they fought to get it not NC-17, because that's the thing too, is that often.
They said they did.
Yeah, see, there you go. And that's the thing. There's so often there's a fight, you know, with the MPAA to not have an NC-17, because often that, as you guys know, that buries a film. So yeah, for a long time I'm watching this and I'm like, why is this NC-17? I'm like, is it just the nudity? And I'm like, it's not. I kind of was thinking the same thing. Like, it's not that intense, like, you know, nudity wise. But yeah, I'm convinced it's the blowjob, but maybe not. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah. Well, you know, when it's first going on, at first I'm like, is that, are they actually showing what I think? And then you realize it's her hand and you're like, okay. Yeah. But I think for that, like maybe 4 seconds, it's just unclear enough that they're like, ew, because they're a bunch of conservative assholes. But
Possibly.
yeah, the other thing that I wanted to say is I have a real love-hate relationship with Andrew Dominik. And when I say love, I mean like. I think Chopper is a legitimately good movie. I think that the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford is wildly overrated. I like Killing Them Softly. And One More Time with Feeling is a documentary he made about Nick Cave after Nick Cave's son died. And it's called One More Time with Feeling. And it's really sensitive and beautiful. So Andrew Dominik knows how to be sensitive and beautiful.
Apparently
but
not
yet
when
he
it involves
chose
women.
Maybe not. And the other thing I don't understand is Nick Cave and Warren Ellis did the score for this, but it feels like Angelo Badalamenti light. It doesn't feel, it feels like Nick Cave-ish, you know?
Yeah, I actually kind of liked the score. I was kind of surprised.
I thought it worked okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, see, I don't think it works at all for the film. I think it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
But I like the score if it was in a different film, just not this film.
It didn't. It didn't work for me in this.
Yeah, same. But yeah, the best thing I can say is the score and the cinematography, because some of the cinematography is really striking.
And the cinematography really pissed me off, but
I can talk about it. Oh, yeah, me too. I agree. That's why I said some of it.
Yeah.
Because the cinematography also pissed me off because so much of it caters to the male gaze. Like the fact that the camera's following her ass constantly and we have a keyhole shot on her ass. I mean, it's constant. Like we're supposed to be immersed in her perspective, but we don't ever see anything from her POV. We see things from the men's POV. We see things from Joe DiMaggio when he's storming up the stairs before he beats her, and we see men gawking at her. We don't really see her POV very often, and so that's enraging that a film, again, about such an important woman icon and artist is so male gazy. It's gross.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say my guess would be that they would tell you that that's the point, that that's the feminist angle, that you never get to see her perspective.
Yeah, and it's not.
You know?
No, I agree with you.
I'm not even playing devil's advocate.
I'm saying it's not to them.
Yeah.
No, I think it's worthwhile that you're playing devil's advocate or that you're,
I don't believe any of that stuff. I'm saying that's what I think they think. No, I know you know
right.
That. I'm saying that for the audience's point of view too.
Right, totally. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that absolutely is 100% their perspective. Like, oh, this is going to be so edgy. Oh, we're going to show this. And you're ridiculous and you're just wrong. But yeah, I also don't like Ana de Armas's performance in this. I think it's
either.
It's
pretty
bad.
Terrible.
It's a bad performance.
Yeah, it's like a bad caricature. And she's like tiptoeing through it like, oh. And it's just, no. Yeah. It's just,
and she can be quite fine as a performer.
Yes. Yes, she is much more talented than what we're seeing here.
And I also, getting back to the cinematography, you've covered the male gaze angle. Just the whole, like, it felt very film school to me. Like, ooh, I'm going to change aspect ratios, and now we're in black and white. Now, get it? Now we're in 4:3, and it's boxy, just like she's boxed in. Yeah. Why don't you go fuck yourself, okay?
It didn't feel like that change was, I agree. It didn't feel like that change was worthwhile when they would shift perspectives. I'm like, I don't think this is really adding anything. It's actually just frustrating me.
Yeah.
More than anything.
It doesn't. It doesn't add anything emotionally. It doesn't add any insight or nuance. Just like the rest of the film. The film adds no insight, no nuance to Marilyn Monroe. It adds nothing. This movie is hollow. It's vapid. Ugh. Also,
I mean, maybe at its core it knows it is. It is called Blonde, after all.
I don't believe it.
No, I don't think so. I think that the thing aside from puzzlement that I feel is you've got especially Andrew Dominik sitting around thinking, man, I made great art. This is just.
I think you're right.
I really don't like it when movies think that they're so fucking great. Like
this movie does.
Right.
It just bugs
when
me. This movie takes
and
itself so seriously.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, yeah. Yes, I echo everything you're saying, Dave. I completely agree with you. I also cannot believe this is such a regressive film. And I said it before that it's anti-abortion. The fact that we get not one, not two, not three, but multiple fetus shots. And Marilyn Monroe did struggle with infertility issues, but this is the most offensive depiction of infertility I have ever seen. It's extremely triggering. I would imagine
yeah.
if somebody has dealt with infertility issues. And there are 2 instances of medical assault where she's forced to have an abortion. And then later she's telling her mom that her mom was brave for not aborting her. And then she's talking to her unborn baby
Fetus?
saying
Yeah.
that she's not going to kill her baby. Like, fuck you, movie. You're a piece of shit. This is gross. This is so disgusting. It is so offensive.
And dumb.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
Never.
Yeah.
I can never forget that. Yeah.
That part in the movie is, especially in like learning more about like her infertility issues and like having had an ectopic pregnancy that she had to end and like other things. It's like just the gigantic divide between real life, and I know this is based on a novel, but still, like, I can't believe that they're like, I'm fine putting this in. I'm fine making this part of the story. Like this horrible, triggering multiple medical assaults, multiple inside her vagina perspective shots. Just the depiction of assaults in this movie, like the numerous depictions of them, but then also the way that they shoot them to be more horrifying, and like her perspective. Even the sex scenes where she's supposed to be enjoying herself are shot in this way. You're like, this doesn't look fun.
The thing with
those
the
look like horror movies to me.
Yeah, like this doesn't look fun.
Because it just looked like they were preying on her, the entire time. And I mean, if you're going to invent something like that, and so she's sexually adventurous or whatever, I mean, shouldn't you show her enjoying it a little bit? Maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
Like, why is everything about her? I mean, again, I'm going to give the movie the benefit of the doubt and say,
don't.
No,
Don't do it. No, I'm kidding.
Character Dave is going to give the movie the benefit of the doubt and say what they're going for is, that, to be a woman in this system is to be ground under somebody's boot heel. But I just, it's kind of like, Sarah Silverman said about her career at one point. She's like, when you tell racist jokes that are ironic, eventually you just kind of become a racist because you're telling racist jokes. And so that's why she stopped
That's correct.
doing those jokes that she used to do and became, in my opinion, a more empathetic comedian. And I kind of feel like that's what, if you're showing how someone was brutalized and mistreated and things like that, at some point it finally becomes exploitative. In this movie, that point is like 7 minutes in. But
exactly. And it doesn't stop. It's an exploitative from beginning to end.
I think that's, I mean, troubling's the wrong word. I just don't get it. I don't understand why anybody would think that this was the right angle to take.
Right? It wallows in trauma. It wallows
good word.
Thank you. It wallows in misery. This is just a miserable piece of shit. It's awful.
Yeah.
I will not mince words. This movie
piece of shit.
This movie is terrible.
Yep.
And also, I was thinking about this, and I talked about this movie in therapy, interestingly, as I talk about many things in therapy. And, I gravitate towards films that explore trauma. And this could have been a really interesting piece, not just on Marilyn Monroe's life, but also on the ramifications of trauma and the long-term ramifications and the kind of unexpected ramifications of them. And I like films that explore that. This completely lacks a trauma-informed lens. And not that every film has to, but if you're going to tackle all of this horrific abuse and all of this rape and all of this, you better fucking have a trauma-informed lens. You better have someone on set who can advise, who knows what they're talking about. And this clearly did not. It's very evident. And I found this film wildly triggering, wildly upsetting, and just enraging.
I can understand why you feel that way. I just sat there for 2 hours and 45 minutes going kind of like slack-jawed, like, the fuck? Just like genuinely confused as to why, I always come back to a Serbian film, which is just the fucking nightmarish, craziest,
Yikes.
fucking weird movie with just, it's so gross. It's so gross. But you know what? It knows what it is. This movie is just like having an identity crisis. The disconnect between what they think they're doing and what they actually did is astounding. And
Yes.
it's almost like, it's almost like they're in denial that they made such a shitty movie,
I think
Oh,
they
boy.
are. Although
I mean-
I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I was going to the same place you are. Evan had mentioned that there are some glowing reviews out there.
Yes,
And I
That's what I was
don't
gonna say.
know. I don't know who they are. I mean, I don't really care for Richard Brody from The New Yorker. He kind of rubs me the wrong way most of the time, but he fucking ripped this movie a new asshole.
Yes, he did.
And it was a
I was very
joy
glad
to read.
see.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There are people who have given it positive reviews, and and like as much as I horrifically could not understand how someone could give this a positive review, the thing that infuriates me more is the people, and I've seen multiple critics tweet this, something to the effect of, if you think this movie is an irredeemable piece of shit, basically you don't know how to watch movies. And that to me is a more infuriating take than someone just enjoying this on their own. I mean, that's fucked for sure. But to accuse people of finding this to be just irredeemable, of saying, oh, you just don't know how to watch movies, dude, fuck you.
Yeah.
I second that.
I haven't actually read any of those. I kind of tend, this probably will surprise you both, I kind of tend to avoid film Twitter. But
Yeah, that's sometimes a good thing.
yeah. Well, I also, I don't take people seriously who write things like that, because it's just not, it's just not conducive to any, it's like, film criticism by assault. It's like, what's the purpose of telling people that they're stupid because they don't understand Blonde, or you think they don't understand Blonde? It just kind of shows me that you're just kind of a dick,
I agree. It
Yeah.
also shows me that you have an incredibly myopic view of cinema in the world if you think that your view is the only correct view, and that somebody else, who has different experiences or different perspectives or different biases can't have a different experience watching something. And I have to say, and I'm not saying this is across the board, because I've seen plenty, like you said, Richard Brody, I've seen plenty of men denigrate this film, but all of the glowing reviews I've seen have been men. And I'm not saying that that's the case, because I'm sure there are women critics out there who will enjoy this too. But I think
haven't read
that's
any
kind
of
of
them yet, but
yeah, I think that's kind of telling though. Like,
yeah.
because I have a feeling, and again, I might be making broad statement here, but I have a feeling if there are women critics who enjoyed this, I have a feeling that they would at least understand why people would not like this, and but telling someone, oh, you just didn't understand it, that is so condescending and so offensive.
Yeah.
God. I'm just going to go off on another tangent, so I'm going to stop right
well,
now.
I mean, and there are plenty of times where we will joke with each other, because you like this movie, you're wrong, or because you
Yeah.
didn't like this movie, you're wrong. But we never actually feel that way, and
No.
it's just so
No.
frustrating. There are people out there that are so condescending and so full of themselves to think that their perspective is right and that other people have wrong perspectives on things.
I can think of 5
Because
people off the
movies-
top of my head.
Right? Because movies are so subjective.
Having said all of that, I think our perspectives are right on this film.
Yes,
Yeah.
clearly.
But you know what? Maybe those critics had a point. I was talking about how this whole thing has puzzled me. Like, I just don't understand why you would do this. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I am an idiot because I don't understand.
You just don't understand, Dave.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to enlighten you.
No, I think that's the thing. I think I do understand. What I don't understand is why anybody
do.
would just think this is worth, spending. I mean, he's been working on this movie, Andrew Dominik, for at least a decade. Like, he
Yes.
first optioned this
Yes.
novel, I don't remember when, but he started working on this in 2011 and made Killing Him Softly instead. And Jessica Chastain, I guess, was attached at one point. That would have been interesting.
Oh,
I would have liked to have seen that
interesting.
performance. Well, she's mentioned around it. I don't know if she was actually attached. I shouldn't say blanket statement. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, well.
I think the other thing that's kind of infuriating and puzzling, kind of along with what you're saying, Dave, is that there are other films that explore Marilyn Monroe, and they seem to explore the mythos of her. They explore her kind of iconography, but they don't, and they also seem to separate her out. Like Norma Jean is like, you know, the virginal version, and Marilyn Monroe is like the horror, like the kind of Madonna horror trope going on. And it's like, you know, before watching this, like I was kind of hoping like, oh, maybe this will be a really interesting exploration and look at Marilyn Monroe as an artist and kind of her process and whatnot. And yeah, no. I'm going to stop because I'm just going to keep insulting this film and trashing it. So, because it is god awful, it is miserable, it is gross and exploitative and disgusting and all and so misogynistic. Oh my God, all the things we keep saying. So I'm going to stop. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
No, I think I just don't know why anybody thought this was a good idea in this format.
Same.
Like, seriously, I want like who fucking thought, yeah, this is the movie? I just don't understand.
Who
Evan, I
indeed?
cut you off. I'm
Who
sorry.
indeed?
I was just going to echo what you're saying. I don't know who would put their signature or stamp of approval on this and say this is legitimately my best effort and this is a good movie. I firmly believe in my heart that I've made a good movie, and it makes all of these great feminist points that character Dave was arguing earlier.
That's my new that's my new side persona on Spoiler Piece when I'm playing devil's advocate, but I don't believe what I'm saying.
Character Dave.
It's Character Dave. Character Dave breaking in here. The screenwriter would say, no, actually, yeah.
Wait, so because you now have a beard, would character Dave be clean shaven? We would be like the inverse of your evil version.
That's
Oh,
right.
like Spock?
Spock had a mustache, but because I have a beard and I'm good Dave, character Dave would, yes, be clean shaven.
Or does character Dave have a handlebar mustache?
Oh, and that he twists.
He waxes and
you know?
twirls.
And his, and
Yes.
his nickname is Snidely Whiplash. Yeah.
Yes. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I don't know. Boy. Because I'm a
Well-
Bobby L-O-N-D. I was thinking of, Julie Brown right there. Don't you remember that song
Guys.
from the 80s?
I don't. My brain may have left the building though, because we've come to the end of this episode, and guys, we made it.
Yeah, we did it. We got through
Yeah,
it.
We made
we
it.
survived.
Yes, and I'm very excited that I had you guys to lean on because it was awful.
Yeah. By the way, when you two were texting, like you both watched it over the weekend and you're like, I fucking hated this movie. And I was just like, oh man, I really hope I don't love it.
I know. I was hoping that too, but I was like, no, I know Dave better. Even if you liked parts of it, I knew you weren't going to love
I
it.
don't think I liked any of it. I just, it's just hard. It's just like, and also I made the decision pretty early on that I knew where it was going. I mean, I didn't know it was going to go as far as it did. But
You mean showing her feet dead?
yeah, that seemed especially, that was kind of just like, I was like, really? This is how we're going
Did
to
we
end
need
this?
that? Right?
With the daddy thing and then the feet? Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Anyway, let's do a recap.
This whole episode's been a recap.
Yeah, that's fair. The Justice of Bunny King is in theaters today. It's going to be available to rent on VOD on September 30th. Would we recommend it?
Yes, but your mileage may vary.
Yes, but no. I was going to say yes, but no, yes, but understand that you are signing up for
Yeah.
something that's going to be emotionally intense.
We have a new rating. Definitely no, yeah. So that's
I love a no, yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, no. I agree. I would say yes, especially for Essie Davis's performance, but with a massive trigger warning that this could be extremely difficult and upsetting for you. But yes, so I agree. I agree with both of your assessments. I think we all just said the same thing, but worded it differently each time.
Yep.
And Blonde is in theaters now, and it is available to stream on Netflix now. I think it is safe to say we would say skip it.
Yes. But, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe see it because I think that everybody needs to know if you can handle it. Megan's kind of giving me a look. If you can
I am.
handle it, I think that you need to know just how bad movies can be. So then there's a benchmark for other things to compare it to. I'm not joking when I say that.
I know. I
You know.
find it funny, but I know you're dead serious.
Yeah.
I like that perspective. I think it's I do. I really, really like it. I think for this one, I'm going to respectfully disagree that you can just skip
Yeah.
it. You don't need to
Just
torture
destroy
yourself.
any copies of it that exist. Like you said
Yeah.
that before, Dave. Destroy the negatives. Just delete it off the hard drive.
Yeah.
Just purge it from
Yes.
popular culture.
It's too bad they didn't shoot this on nitrate film. We just could have like lit it on fire and it would be over.
I had a bonfire. That
Yeah.
would have been great. So satisfying.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the kind of thing Jason over at Binge Movies would love. Just destroy it. It's not for the archives, Jason. Just get rid of this
Yeah.
movie.
He does have an anti-vault. It would go in the anti-vault
Yeah.
to kind of erase it from existence. Yeah.
hmm
I would not be mad at that if that happened here. But Dave, you do raise an interesting point too, though, because thinking about how, sometimes certain films you want to see so you can be part of the discourse. And I get that. I'm just going to say my suggestion is skip it. Don't even
Yeah. I mean,
don't even torture yourself. Don't put yourself through that misery.
you're probably better off that way, but yeah.
Well, we want to thank you so much, listeners and patrons. We really appreciate you listening to the show. You can find, before I even get into where you can find us, we want to give a huge thank you to our editor, Otto Clammer. Otto, thank you so much for making us sound so awesome week after week.
Thanks, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece anywhere you get your podcast. We're at all the podcast platforms. You can also follow us or find us on our website, spoilerpiece.com. You can follow us on social media. We're all over the place. We're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, and TikTok. So follow us, say hello at all of the places. You can also email us, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call.
At 86221-PEACE.
You can leave us a voicemail message. You can text us. Let us know. Wow, you guys are wrong. Blonde is the greatest. I don't think you'll say that, but maybe you will. Or, yeah, I love Essie Davis too. She's awesome.
Don't tell us Blonde is the greatest.
God, I hope nobody says that. But you
Gonna
never know. It
block
could happen.
your number instantly. Sorry.
The point is, we love hearing from you.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with us or have divergent thoughts, we love hearing from you. And if you love us, consider rating the show. We would really appreciate that. It helps get the word out. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. That will take you to your preferred platform of choice to rate us. If you rate us on Apple Podcasts, that helps us out tremendously too. And rating us on Spotify also helps us out. And if you love the show, like really, really love the show, consider becoming a patron if you're not already. As I said at the top of the show, this week, our bonus episode was on Disney's classic Little Mermaid. Every week we put out bonus episodes. You can also vote in monthly polls, and you also get access to our catalog of almost 300 bonus episodes, which is super fun. We always have a blast on those. So if you're not a patron already, consider joining. So that's going to do it for us. My name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter at OpinionS World or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinion S.
I'm Dave Riedel. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Dave Sees Movies.
And my name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.